AITA for dating my wife's best friend after she asked for an open marriage? I am 31, a mechanic at an independent shop in Dallas. Nothing too glamorous, but the pay is decent and I love working with my hands. I have a house in the suburbs and a garage where I spend most of my free time working on my pride and joy, a 1967 Chevy Impala that I have been restoring for 2 years. I have been married to Jessica, 30, for almost 6 years and together for 7. For the first few years, we had what I would call a really solid relationship. Jessica is a graphic designer at a small agency downtown, and we got along on almost everything. We would take weekend trips to the Texas Hill Country. We had this routine of cooking together on Sundays, and we could talk for hours about anything and everything. Jessica was always very social, while I am more of a quiet night with streaming shows kind of guy. Every Friday, she would go out for drinks with her group of friends from her freshman year of college. It never bothered me because it gave me time to work on the Impala or watch my shows. She would come home with funny stories, and we would talk late into the night. But about 6 months ago, something changed. Jessica's friend Haley moved back to Dallas and joined their Friday night group. Haley is the type who thinks marriage is a prison. She was constantly posting Instagram stories from clubs, talking about how great single life is. And suddenly, Jessica started coming home from these nights out with a different energy. Instead of our usual moments on the couch where she would unwind, she seemed restless. She spent more time on her phone, made comments about our routine becoming predictable, and would ask if I did not think we were missing out on something. Our intimate moments started to fade around then. What used to be natural and frequent became strained and distant. She would find excuses to go to bed early or stay late at work. When we were intimate, it felt like she was going through the motions rather than being truly present. After 3 months, it got worse. Jessica started picking fights over petty things. One Saturday, I was working on the Impala, and she came into the garage demanding to know why I had not noticed she had rearranged the living room. When I said I had not really paid attention, she flew off the handle, saying I never notice anything she does and that I take her for granted. Then she added, "Maybe if you spent less time with that stupid car and more time being a husband, you would notice the important things." She also started criticizing the time I spent in the garage, saying things like, "Normal men do not spend their entire weekend hiding in a garage, and I married a man, not a greasy mechanic." When I tried to explain that restoring the Impala was my passion, she would roll her eyes and say, "It is just an old car. Grow up and find something more interesting." She also started making more comments about money, even though I was the one who earned more. "We could afford nice things if you did not spend everything on car parts," she would say, completely ignoring that this hobby was adding value and that I was funding it with my overtime hours. The distance between us kept growing to the point where I felt like I was sharing my home with a polite stranger who just knew where I kept the coffee mugs. I tried to talk to her about it, but she always said she was fine or just tired from work, while hinting that whatever was wrong was somehow my fault because I was not a mind reader. The bomb dropped one evening in March. I was in the living room when Jessica came over and sat on the coffee table in front of me. "We need to talk about something important," she said, and my stomach immediately knotted up. Nothing good ever follows that sentence. She started with a speech about how she had been thinking about us and our future. I thought we were about to have a normal couple conversation, maybe plan a vacation or talk about buying a bigger house. I was completely wrong. "I think we should explore our options while we are still young," she said. I stared at her. "What do you mean by that?" She hesitated, then dropped the real news. "I love you, but I feel like we are missing out. We got together so young, and we have never really known other people or other relationships." My brain was trying to catch up, but everything felt like it was in slow motion, like in a car crash where you see everything happening but cannot stop it. "You are not happy in our marriage?" I managed to ask. "No, not at all. I love you, and I want to stay married to you. But I think we should consider opening our relationship. An open marriage would be good for both of us. We could explore other connections while still having what we have together." She went on talking about all her online research and how many couples were doing this successfully. Haley had apparently told her about some couples she knew who had open marriages and were much happier than traditional ones. But then she added, "Besides, it is not like our current situation is particularly exciting. Maybe some outside perspective would help us both grow and figure out what we really want." The whole time, I was sitting there thinking it sounded like a speech she had rehearsed with her friends, full of little digs at me disguised as relationship advice. When I asked if she had anyone specific in mind, she paused just long enough to give me all the answers I needed. No, I just want the freedom to explore if the opportunity comes up. God, you are so paranoid. A woman cannot want something for herself without you making it about your insecurities. That silence said more than anything she actually said. And that is when I surprised myself. Instead of losing my mind or trying to argue her out of it, I just said, okay. The look on her face was priceless, like she had prepared for a world war and I had just raised the white flag. Really? She asked. Really, I replied. If this is what you think our marriage needs, let us try it. The next morning, Jessica left for work practically skipping. She even said, I am proud of you for being so mature, as if she were my mother praising me for not throwing a tantrum. I went to the garage but could not focus on anything. During my lunch break, I did something I had not done since college. I downloaded dating apps. Not one, but 3. If we were going to play this game, I was going to play it right. But honestly, I was not just getting into this to spite Jessica. I realized that if my marriage was heading for a cliff, I needed to take back control of my life. So I started making changes. First thing, the gym. I had been meaning to get back in shape for years, and suddenly I had all this nervous energy to channel. I started going after work, before heading home. I was lifting weights and running on the treadmill. It felt good to focus on something I could control. Weekends became entirely dedicated to the Impala. Instead of trying to spend time with Jessica, who clearly was not interested and would make unpleasant remarks anyway, I spent my Saturdays and Sundays buried in the garage. It was therapeutic, and I was making real progress on the restoration. I also started seeing my friends more often. Mike and Alex had been asking me for months to come to their poker nights, and I finally started going. Alex, my best friend since high school, immediately called me out when I showed up to the first night looking like death warmed over. Dude, you look like someone ran over your dog with your own truck, Alex said, dealing the cards. What is Jessica putting you through now? When I explained the open marriage situation, Alex nearly choked on his drink. Wait. She basically said she wanted to see other people, but keep you around for emotional support and the house payments. And you said yes? Bro, you are either playing 4-dimensional chess or you have completely lost your mind. Creating the dating profiles was super weird. How do you write, married man looking for something casual, without sounding like a total creep? Turns out, there are a lot more people interested in that kind of arrangement than I thought. Apparently, Dallas is full of people who want connection without commitment. My first few dates were disasters. There was Rachel, a yoga teacher who spent the entire dinner talking about her spiritual journey and chakra alignment. Then there was Stephanie, who seemed normal until she started showing me pictures of her 3 cats and detailing their personalities in disturbing detail. But here is the thing. I was not just doing this for fun. I was planning my exit. My marriage was already over from the moment Jessica asked to open it. So while she was enjoying this new experience, I was getting to work. After that second disastrous date, I spent the next few days discreetly moving money. I opened a separate account and started having a portion of my paycheck deposited there. I made copies of all our financial documents, insurance policies, and property deeds. I also called my friend Kevin, who had gone through a messy divorce 2 years earlier. He gave me his lawyer's name and some advice. Document everything, secure your assets, and do not let on until you are ready to make your move. Meanwhile, I kept up the dating charade. Jessica was going out more and more, coming home later and later with that glow I remembered seeing at the beginning of our relationship. Except now, it was not because of me. I noticed she started asking me questions about my dating life, but in that subtle way where she was fishing for information without seeming like it. So, how are the apps going? She would ask while doing the dishes. Meeting anyone interesting? Then she would always add something like she was sure I would find someone on my level. Alex had the perfect response when I told him about it. Oh, she is definitely fishing for info. But instead of catching answers, she is going to catch a whole lot of backlash when she realizes you are not at home crying into your toolbox. I also noticed she was watching me more closely. She would make comments about me going to the gym, like, I guess you were trying to impress someone now, or ask why I was working so much overtime with an accusatory tone, as if I were stealing something from her. She even seemed annoyed when I spent the whole weekend in the garage instead of hanging around the house waiting for her to come back from her dates. Now here is what happened right before everything blew up. One night, while scrolling on my phone, I matched with Vanessa. I recognized her immediately. Vanessa had been Jessica's roommate in their junior year and was in a lot of their group photos. She was the one Jessica always made passive-aggressive comments about, usually about how Vanessa got all the attention or how guys would hit on her when they went out together. Vanessa was objectively stunning, a movie star kind of beautiful with dark hair, green eyes, and a smile that made you forget what you were saying. When we matched, I was not even sure if I should mention I knew who she was. But Vanessa brought it up first, saying she remembered me and asking if Jessica and I were still together. I explained the open marriage situation, and she seemed genuinely surprised but non-judgmental. Jessica always did like to shake things up, she said with a little smile that showed there was a history between them. Our first coffee date lasted 4 hours. Vanessa was everything Jessica had been before we fell into a routine. Smart, funny, genuinely interested in what I had to say. She asked me about my work, about my Impala restoration project, about my opinions on movies and current events. She actually listened to my answers and asked follow-up questions instead of just waiting for her turn to talk. We started seeing each other twice a week. The chemistry was immediate and intense, but more than that, being with her was easy in a way I had forgotten. One evening when she came over, I was working on the Impala's transmission, and she took a real interest in it. She asked questions, complimented my tools, and even helped by handing me parts when I needed them. It was incredible to have someone appreciate the craftsmanship and skill required to restore a classic car, instead of complaining about the time I spent on it or calling it a stupid hobby. She is beautiful, Vanessa said, running her hand over the Impala's fender. You have done an amazing job. This takes a lot of skill and patience. That might have been the moment I realized I was falling for her. Jessica had never said a single positive thing about my project, and here was Vanessa genuinely appreciating both the car and the work I had put into it. Meanwhile, I continued my new routine. Gym 4 times a week, extra projects at work, poker nights with the guys, and weekends dedicated to the Impala. I was feeling better about myself than I had in months. I was getting in shape, making more money, and actually enjoying my free time instead of walking on eggshells around Jessica. Alex noticed the change immediately. Dude, you have gone from a sad puppy to someone who just won the lottery. Vanessa has got you glowing like you just hit the jackpot. Jessica definitely noticed these changes. She started complaining that I was never around, asking why I was suddenly so busy, but with an accusatory tone as if I owed her an explanation. The irony was incredible. She was the one who wanted space to see other people, but she seemed annoyed that I was actually using my time productively instead of waiting around for her. I thought the point was for us to still prioritize our marriage, she said one night when I told her I was going out. You are acting like a single man. Is that not what you wanted? I replied, not like this. You are still supposed to want to come home to me. Those questions about my dating life became more frequent and more direct. She wanted to know where I was going, who I was seeing, what we were doing. But she would ask with a condescending tone, like, I hope you are being careful, or do not forget, some women are only interested in what they can get from you. I stayed vague because, honestly, what was I supposed to say? That I was having the time of my life with someone who made me feel appreciated again. After about 3 weeks, I could tell Jessica was getting anxious. She started coming home earlier from her own dates and would have a tense look on her face whenever I said I was going out. She also started saying things like, do not forget, this is just for fun, not for falling in love. Alex's take on this was perfect. She is acting like a kid who gave away their favorite toy and now wants it back because someone else is playing with it. Except the toy is you, and you are not filled with cotton. You are filled with common sense. One night, she tried to initiate intimacy for the first time in months. She came into the living room wearing something I had not seen in a long time, clearly expecting me to jump at the chance. But honestly, I was not interested. Between her recent coldness and the fact that I knew she was involved with Kyle, the whole situation felt wrong. I am not really in the mood, I told her. Her face went through at least 5 different emotions. What do you mean you are not in the mood? I am your wife, and I have the right to choose who I want to be intimate with, just like you do, I replied. Was that not the whole point of the open marriage? No. She looked at me like I had just slapped her. It is not the same thing. You cannot just reject me like I am some stranger. I am your wife. How is it not the same thing? You went out to explore your options, and now it is my turn to explore mine. That includes choosing when and with whom I want to be intimate. You are being ridiculous. Wives have certain rights in a marriage, and you cannot just decide to ignore them because you are having a midlife crisis with dating apps. She stormed off into the guest room, and I could hear her on the phone with Haley, probably complaining about my supposedly unreasonable behavior. The irony was incredible. She wanted the freedom to see other people, but expected me to always be available whenever it suited her. The turning point came when I decided to invite Vanessa over for dinner. I told Jessica that evening that I was having a friend over the next day. She asked who, and I replied that it was someone she knew from college. When Vanessa arrived, looking stunning in a simple black dress, Jessica's face changed expressions several times in 3 seconds. Dinner was incredibly awkward. Jessica was fake polite to Vanessa but threw subtle jabs, saying how Vanessa was still living it up and must be having fun being single. She also added comments like, "Some people just never learn to settle down," or "Not everyone is cut out for real commitment." Vanessa, to her credit, remained graceful and even tried to include Jessica in the conversation. Throughout the dinner, I could see Jessica watching how Vanessa and I interacted. How Vanessa laughed at my jokes, asked questions about things Jessica had stopped listening to long ago, and complimented the meal I had cooked instead of criticizing it. After dinner, Vanessa asked if she could see the Impala, and I proudly took her to the garage. I could see Jessica watching us from the kitchen window, her face darkening with every minute as Vanessa admired my work. After Vanessa left, Jessica waited exactly 30 seconds before completely exploding. When I told Alex about it later, he was roaring with laughter. "So your wife's old roommate shows up, looks like a smoke show, actually appreciates your work, and Jessica is spying on you from the window like a crazy neighbor? Bro, that is not a dinner party. That is an episode of a soap opera." "What was that?" Jessica yelled as soon as the door closed. I pretended not to understand. "What was what?" "You brought Vanessa here, to our house. Of all people, it had to be her. I thought you would be happy to reconnect with an old friend," I replied, which only made her angrier. "Cut the crap. You know exactly what you were doing. You brought her here to rub it in my face because you know she has always been everything I am not." "Rub what in your face?" "The fact that I am dating someone, as we agreed. Not someone like her. Vanessa has always been the one who gets everything. The guys, the attention, everything. And now you are just one more, right? Another guy who thinks she is so special." "So if I understand correctly," I said, "you wanted an open marriage to see other people, but you are mad because I am also seeing someone?" "I did not think you would find someone like her," she answered. And there it was. The truth finally came out. "I thought you would maybe find some desperate woman grateful for any attention from a married man." "Someone like what?" "Someone who actually enjoys my company. Someone who respects my passions instead of calling them stupid." Jessica's face tightened, then the anger returned even stronger. "Someone better than me. Is that what you were saying? You think you are too good for me now? Because some college princess showed interest in you?" I looked at her for a long moment. "This is not what I had in mind when we decided to open the marriage," I said, using her own words. "It is different," she protested. "You were supposed to be exploring, not replacing me. And certainly not with someone who is going to make me look pathetic in comparison." "How is it different?" She could not answer because there was no answer. She had expected me to fail while she enjoyed her freedom. The idea that I might actually meet someone amazing, especially someone she knew and had always been jealous of, had never crossed her mind. In her head, I was supposed to be grateful for the scraps of attention she gave me while she was out having fun. That is when she dropped it all. She had been involved with Kyle, a coworker, for 2 months before she even mentioned the open marriage. They were already getting close, and she knew she wanted to take it further, but she did not want to be seen as crossing a line. The whole open marriage discussion was actually a way to get permission for something she was already invested in. And besides, she added, as if it made things better, "Kyle actually appreciates me. He does not spend all his time tinkering with cars like a teenager. He has real ambitions and real goals." I felt a strange calm wash over me, like when you finally figure out what is wrong with a misfiring engine. Well, that changes everything. She had basically already been in an emotional affair, then manipulated me into an arrangement that legitimized it. When she tried to argue that she had not done anything wrong, I cut her off. The boundaries were crossed before they were even set, I said before leaving the room. That is when I decided it was over. The next morning, I called my lawyer and made an appointment. Within a week, everything was ready. I pretended for another 2 weeks, as if everything was normal, while the lawyer prepared the documents. Jessica seemed to think we were going to work through the Kyle thing with some therapy and a few adjustments. First, she begged me to stop seeing Vanessa. Then she proposed that we scale back the open marriage to focus on our relationship. I think we have both learned some important things, she said. Maybe we rushed into it. I am willing to be more understanding of your needs if you can be more mature about mine. I just nodded. My lawyer was impressed with my preparation. Most guys come in here after their wives have already taken them to the cleaners, he told me. You are way ahead of the game. Alex's reaction when I explained my plan. So you are pulling a John Wick, but for divorce. My man, you are about to serve her papers colder than a margarita in December. One Thursday morning, as Jessica was getting ready for work, the process server knocked on the door. She answered in her bathrobe, probably thinking it was a delivery. Instead, she was served with divorce papers. Her scream could have been heard 3 houses down. What is this? She shrieked, waving the papers as if they were on fire. I calmly sipped my coffee. Divorce papers. You are not serious. We just talked about fixing things. No, you talked. I listened. There is a difference. She started to cry, then got angry, then cried again. This is not fair. You did not even give me a chance to fix this. You had 6 years to not manipulate me and lie about an emotional affair. That was your chance. But we agreed to try an open marriage. You said you were okay with it. You cannot just change your mind and punish me for following the rules we set. Even then, she saw herself as the victim. I was okay with honesty and mutual respect. You gave me neither. I cannot believe you were planning this behind my back. How long have you been scheming like some kind of psycho? You are the one who was scheming. About as long as you have been involved with Kyle, I replied. That shut her up for about 5 seconds before she started screaming again that it was not fair, that I did not warn her, that I should have given her a chance to fight for us. This is not what I wanted. Real men do not give up on their marriages. They fight for what they love. But I guess you never really loved me if you can just throw it all away like this. You wanted an open marriage, I reminded her. Now you have the ultimate open marriage. We are both free to see whoever we want. Then came the detail that really set her off. According to the other documents, she had 30 days to find another place to live since the house was mine, purchased and paid for before our marriage. Her name was on neither the deed, the mortgage, nor the bills. You cannot kick me out, she yelled. This is my home too. I have lived here for 6 years. I have rights. Actually, no. You have 30 days. Where am I supposed to go? I cannot afford a place on my own with my salary. You know that. This is financial abuse. I believe Kyle has an apartment, I said, which made her face turn a rather impressive shade of purple. Kyle and I, it is not. I mean, we are not ready for a step like that. You cannot force me to move in with someone just because it is convenient for you. She threw the papers at me and stormed upstairs. I could hear her on the phone, probably with Haley or her mother, sobbing about how cruel and calculating I was. About 2 hours later, my phone rang. It was Jessica's mother. I should have let it go to voicemail, but I answered. Bad idea. How dare you do this to my daughter? She started screaming before I could even say hello. Hello to you too, Patricia, I said. Do not you hello me. Jessica is upstairs crying her eyes out because of you. How could you be so cruel? She made one little mistake, and you are destroying her life over it. A little mistake? Really, Patricia, I do not think you have the full story. I know enough. Jessica told me everything. She said you two decided to try new things in your marriage, and now you are punishing her for it. That is not how marriage works. Marriage is about forgiveness and working through problems, not running away the second things get hard. She asked for an open marriage to cover up the fact that she was already involved with her coworker. I replied calmly. That is not trying new things. That is crossing a line with extra steps. That is not what she told me. She said you both wanted to explore, and now you are being vindictive because she found someone first. You are just jealous because she is more attractive and outgoing than you. Patricia, I am not going to argue with you about this. Jessica and I are getting a divorce. The papers are filed. You cannot just throw away 6 years of marriage. What about for better or for worse? What about working through things? You are selfish and immature. My daughter deserves a real man who fights for his marriage, not someone who gives up and runs to a lawyer the second things get tough. I am selfish, I replied, laughing. Your daughter manipulated me into an open marriage so she could be involved with her coworker guilt-free. And I am the selfish one. She is trying to fix things. She wants to go to therapy, but you will not even give her a chance because you are too stubborn and proud, and probably jealous that she found someone more successful than you. She had 6 years to not lie to me. That was her chance. Maybe if you had been a better husband, she would not have needed to look elsewhere. Great. Now it was my fault she crossed the line. This woman was completely delusional. Patricia, with all due respect, this conversation is over. Do not call me again. Do not you dare hang up on me. I am not finished with you. You are going to regret this when you realize what you are losing. I hung up and immediately blocked her number. A few minutes later, I got a text from an unknown number, clearly her using Jessica's dad's phone, calling me every name in the book and threatening to make me pay for hurting their daughter. I blocked that number too and forwarded the messages to my lawyer. The apple really does not fall far from the tree. When I told Alex about the call, he was dying. Bro, her mom called you nothing special. That is rich coming from a woman whose daughter just got served divorce papers like a drive-through order. I bet Patricia is the type to ask to speak to the manager at Walmart. The next 30 days were a complete sham. Jessica seemed to think that if she made my life miserable enough, I would change my mind about the divorce. She would leave passive-aggressive notes around the house, saying things like, "Some people do not know a good thing when they have it," or, "You will regret this when you are old and alone." But here is the thing, it was my house. So I started having Vanessa over regularly. She would come by after work, sit with me in the garage while I worked on the Impala. She would hand me tools and just enjoy the moment. It was exactly what I had always wanted to share with Jessica, but never could. I could see Jessica watching us from the kitchen window, getting more and more annoyed every time Vanessa showed genuine interest in my work. By day 15, Jessica could not stand seeing us together anymore. She packed her bags in a fit of rage and left for Kyle's place, declaring that she did not need this house and that I would regret destroying our marriage for some college fantasy that would not last. I felt nothing but immense relief as her car pulled out of the driveway. Alex's text when I told him she was finally gone. "Jessica is out. We are doing this. I am bringing tacos. We are toasting to your freedom, man." The divorce was finalized 3 months later. Jessica tried to claim half the house, despite not being on any of the paperwork, arguing that she had contributed to the household and that her emotional labor should count. My lawyer shut that down very quickly. She got her car, her personal belongings, and half of our joint savings account. And that was it. At first, I thought that was the end of the story. Jessica had gotten what she thought she wanted, freedom to be with Kyle without the weight of our marriage. But apparently, that is not how her twisted logic worked. Kyle left her about 6 weeks after she moved in with him. According to mutual friends, he got tired of her constant drama about the divorce and her obsession with stalking my social media. Apparently, she would spend their dates complaining about me and Vanessa instead of focusing on their relationship. Alex's reaction to this news. Kyle bolted faster than a tourist after eating a street taco that has been in the sun too long. Cannot even blame him. That is when Jessica's behavior got really weird. It started with flowers. I would come home from work to find bouquets on my doorstep with little handwritten notes apologizing and saying she wanted to talk like adults. The notes also contained phrases like, "I know you are just acting out because you are hurt," or "We both know Vanessa is just a rebound. You will come to your senses eventually." I threw them away, figuring she would eventually get the hint. She did not. Vanessa started getting private messages from Jessica on Instagram. Long, rambling messages about how Vanessa was destroying a family and how she hoped she was proud of herself. The messages became more and more aggressive, calling Vanessa a home wrecker and a woman who preys on vulnerable men during difficult times. When Vanessa blocked her main account, Jessica created fake profiles to keep contacting her. The messages got more and more disturbing, accusing Vanessa of stealing someone's husband and saying things like, "Enjoy it while it lasts." Men like him always go back to their wives. Alex's take on the harassment. Jessica is creating fake accounts like she is running a party planning business. Pretty soon she will be writing to Vanessa under the username Bridesmaids 2024 pitching her services. Then came the campaign with mutual friends. Jessica contacted everyone to tell her side of the story, where I was a controlling manipulator who had abandoned her for her old college roommate. Some of them bought it, but most of them knew Jessica well enough to see through it. The breaking point came at our friend Mike's birthday party. Jessica showed up uninvited and spent the whole night following us around, making loud comments about a lack of loyalty and how you cannot trust some people around other people's husbands. She even tried to corner Vanessa in the bathroom to tell her the truth, claiming I was just using her to make Jessica jealous. We left early, but it was incredibly embarrassing. That weekend, I came home after picking up parts for the Impala to find Jessica sitting in her car in front of my house. She rolled down the window and started yelling about how I was parading that woman around like a trophy and how I was trying to hurt her. "You do not live here anymore, Jessica. You need to leave," I told her. "This was my house too. I have a right to be on this street. You do not get to control the whole neighborhood just because you want to play house with your little girlfriend. You have a right to drive down the street, not to park in front of my house and harass me. I am not harassing anyone. I am just trying to understand how you could throw away our marriage for someone who is probably just using you for a good time. She will get bored, and then you will see what you lost." She drove off. But 2 days later, she was there again. This time, just sitting and staring at the house. When I came outside, she yelled, "I hope you are happy. I hope she was worth destroying everything we built," before peeling out. I blocked her everywhere: phone, social media, and email. But she still found ways to contact me through friends or new accounts. So I called my lawyer and filed for a restraining order. Between the documented harassment of Vanessa, the fact that she was lurking around my house, and her obsessive behavior, the case was clear. I got a temporary order that same day, which became permanent a month later. Jessica violated it in less than 2 weeks by having Haley call me to pass on a message. She was sorry and wanted to fix things. According to Haley, Jessica was devastated and wanted me to know she had learned her lesson and was ready to be the wife I deserved. I reported the incident, and Jessica got a visit from the police, which finally seemed to cool her down. It has been 4 months now, and things have finally quieted down. Vanessa and I moved in together last month. She is everything Jessica never was: stable, honest, supportive, and genuinely interested in my passions. She even helped me finish the interior restoration of the Impala, and now we take it for drives on weekends through the Texas Hill Country. Jessica, on the other hand, moved back in with her parents after bouncing from Haley's couch through a series of failed dating app flings. Alex's final word on the matter was perfect. Now she can practice being someone's problem before she tries to be someone's wife again. Meanwhile, you are out here living your best life with a woman who actually appreciates what you do. That, my friend, is what we call a glow-up. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if she had just been honest from the start. If she had told me she was developing feelings for Kyle and wanted to either work on our marriage or end it cleanly. We probably could have had a calm divorce and moved on with our lives. Instead, she tried to have it all and ended up with nothing. Meanwhile, I got exactly what she thought she was taking from me: the freedom to be with someone who truly loves and respects me and who appreciates my passions. Comment: I really appreciated how this story highlighted the power of self-respect in difficult situations. When someone starts crossing your boundaries, it's okay to pause and protect your peace. I've come to realize that true love should never make you feel like you have to settle or compromise your dignity. Focusing on your own growth and healing can lead you to much better places. Choosing calm and genuine connection is often the wisest decision you can make. Taking responsibility for your happiness shows real strength and maturity. You deserve to be with someone who values you fully and consistently. It's never too late to choose yourself and create the life you truly want. I hope this story inspires you to think about the relationships in your own life. Let me know in the comments what lesson hit home for you the most. If you like the stories, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.